Spike wasn't supposed to be the main character. He was meant to die. Instead, he became the beating heart of the Buffyverse's most complicated story of love, obsession, and redemption. Hey there, Scoobies. William the Bloody, a poet with his heart on his sleeve.
My heart expands. There's grown a bulge in it.
Let's talk about Spike. A fan favourite for good reason. This peroxide-headed, leather-cladded reject from the punk era turned heads when he literally crashed into Sunnydale in Season 2.
Home sweet home.
Until now, vampires were presented as old and archaic, steeped in mythology.
By the way, I like your dress.
Or stuck in a time warp.
He's got the sleeves rolled up. And the shirt? Deal with that outfit for a moment.
It's dated.
It's carbon dated.
Spike's entrance heralded the modern take against the traditional, in as much as 70s era British punk could be considered modern. Spike and Drusilla brought with them some much needed personality.
I fed off a flower person, and I spent the next 6 hours watching my hand move.
And by the end of the episode School Hard, a refreshing new take on a villain. This introduction is key to understanding Spike's arc and how he fits into the narrative. The scene drips in bad boy swagger, and I think the entire aesthetic has been carefully constructed to give that image. As we will explore, Spike is love's bitch, and in his adolescent mind, girls go after the bad guys.
Out for a walk, bitch.
So you may be thinking, hey, those other examples sort of work. The master is stuck in his ways, vamps dressed based on the decade that they were turned, but there are examples of vampires that have changed. Look at Spike and Darla. In Darla's case, she died a lady of the night, her world shaped by seduction and survival. The schoolgirl costume isn't just provocative, it's a modern echo of her original role, designed to appeal to the male gaze. Spike, by contrast, is a hopeless romantic, a poet. And poetry, after all, is the art of bleeding on the page. But Spike didn't just shake up the show, he shook up the audience. And that's where things get interesting.
Well, at least it's showbiz.
The problem with the stereotype is that stereotypes are there for a reason. This view that women are attracted to the bad boy spilled out from the show and into the fandom at large. And, well, it doesn't seem like he was wrong. The irony is, Spike was never meant to be a recurring character, let alone the series staple that he became. The whole concept of the show was that Angel excluded, vampires were nothing more than demons to be fought and overcome, like the challenges we faced growing up, not sexy. Which Joss considered to be a problem.
In Joss's world, evil is not cool, and I really respect him for that. Vampires were just a metaphor for the challenges that you get over in your adolescence. So vampires are supposed to be overcome. And I was supposed to come in and get killed off. And the audience immediately reacted to me in a way that made it was going to make it very difficult to kill me off.
Spike's popularity meant it would have been a mistake to have killed him off. And I think we're all glad that they realised this very fact, despite Whedon's frustration.
And he's in my face. He goes, I don't care how popular you are, kid. You are dead. You are dead. You are dead. You got me?
Spike's relationship with Drusilla, and the question of whether vampires can truly love, invites a deeper look into the nature of the soul. As noted in the TPN Buffy guide, their bond, though selfish, is undeniably real. I do have to say that part of understanding Spike's psyche goes back to his life in Inception. But, like the show, I'll wait to reveal the importance of this. It's understandable that Spike and Drew share a bond. Though soulless, they clearly care about each other.
You can't love without a soul.
Oh, we can, you know. We can love quite well. If not wisely.
We see a similar devotion in Heartthrob, where James sacrifices himself to avenge Elizabeth. Equally, Angel and Darla's dalliance wasn't without passion. But why would it be? Is the ability to feel love directly linked to having a soul? I don't think so. And though TPN does proffer that the ability for vampires to love is only selfishly, I would possibly take it one step further and say that This holds true within a large part of humanity, especially where emotional intelligence may be lacking. Some argue that love, particularly in traditional gender roles, is often tied to the expectations of provision and protection. While this may be reductive, it does echo in how Darla and Drusilla respond to their partner's perceived weakness. But this ties nicely into the Lost Boys concept, as this mentality could be considered immature, and they too are stuck in adolescence. Drusilla seems to take some pleasure in Angel's taunting of Spike, and though she is meant to love him, she takes pleasure in his jealousy. This dynamic mirrors toxic attachment, love as possession, not partnership. It also reinforces the idea that vampires without souls love through dominance and need, not empathy. Drusilla acts as a dark mirror of femininity, madness, seduction, cruelty. She's both childlike and ancient, a siren and a seer. But we're not here to talk about her. Spike remains devoted to Drew, even bargaining for her life with Buffy. But as we'll see, he's less in love with Drusilla than the idea of being in love. And that distinction will shape everything that follows. In Lover's Walk, Spike returns to Sunnydale alone. The contrast with his swaggering entrance in School Hard is stark. No Drusilla, no bravado. Just a broken man clinging to the wreckage of love. This visual cue silently tells us all we need to know about his headspace and sets the scene for the episode's themes. This being the only appearance, it centres around the core of his character and sets up a dynamic that doesn't come into play until later, that of Buffy's romantic choice between dark and light. As I mentioned earlier, Spike's motivations here are in getting Drew back, but his need remains a selfish one. His desire to be loved by her spurs him on. Like all vampires, he's a slave to his desires. Rather than the episode as a whole, which I will cover in my episode guide, I wanted to focus on his speech.
Love isn't brains, children. It's blood. Blood screaming inside you to work its will.
This line is pure Spike. Visceral, poetic, and emotionally raw. It encapsulates his worldview at this stage. Love as compulsion, obsession, and pain. He's not talking about partnership or empathy. He's talking about need. His need. Spike's speech reveals the vampire's emotional stasis. Despite his age, he's still operating from a teenage understanding of love. Intense, dramatic, and self-centered. His romantic philosophy is performative and destructive. Love is something you feel, not something you build. Spike's speech is a manifesto of adolescent love, passionate, selfish, and doomed. It's not until he confronts the consequences of this philosophy, especially with his relationship with Buffy, that he begins to evolve. Though only a single episode, it is a hinge point for Spike's arc, setting up the later obsession with Buffy, his soul quest, and eventual sacrifice.
Hi baby, I'm back.
In Season 4, Spike returns as a more permanent fixture, and seems to take on a new role within the core of the show. It works well with the themes taking place in the larger context. One of the key elements that made up Seasons 1 to 3 is that school is hell. Season 4 marks an evolution in this premise. The more things change, the more they stay the same. The Scoobies are at college now. Well, most of them.
I sleep in the basement and I have to pay rent. How's college?
But despite graduating school, they still fit within the education system, and so campus becomes the new backdrop. Spike's reintroduction acts as more of the same, but like the proverbial things, his place in the show has become changed. So, how do you keep a villain around permanently when your model is that there is a season big bad, or that they are hurdles to overcome?
'Cause the big bad is back. And this time...
The chip becomes a huge part of Spike's character moving forward, and in of itself asks an interesting question. One that we've asked for centuries. Nature versus nurture. Spike, like any other vampire, is a soulless monster, and the chip doesn't change this. The lack of a soul also seems to be tied to sex. The metaphor is messy, yet intentional. The Buffyverse often ties vampirism to unchecked desire, especially sexual. Without a soul, love becomes lust, and intimacy becomes conquest. In Season 2, Angel turned back to Angelus after sex with Buffy. His immediate response is to pump and dump, as the kids are saying. As crude as this is, the soulless vampires are tied to this mentality, and Spike is no different. After escaping the initiative, he happens upon Willow and tries to bite her.
This sort of thing's never happened to me before.
Maybe you were nervous.
I felt all right when I started.
The analogy is that Spike can't perform due to the chip. It's Spike's nature, and the chip acts as nurture in this analogy. The chip as a leash, a muzzle, a collar, it's not just a sci-fi device, it's a symbol of domestication and the quelling of primal urge. As a result, the Scoobs continually forget or ignore Spike's nature due to the concept that he is now being nurtured. This is presented at multiple points in Season 4, but no more so than in the Yoko factor. Despite the muzzle, Spike finds ways of allowing his nature to be expressed, where he manipulates the gang with surgical precision. And this works on a few levels. Firstly, it showcases Spike's ability to get under their skin, tormenting the gang through manipulation rather than physical conflict. It reminds us that he's more cunning than the average vampire. Secondly, it's a reminder of his sire line, Angelus, who was famous for the mental abuse he placed on his victims, and maybe a little of this has rubbed off on Spike. Though, unlike Angelus, Spike's understanding of this probably comes from his own inadequacy from his past. Thirdly, moving back to the representation in growing up, Spike works as the manifestation of self-doubt, working his way through the mind.
I'll tell her.
Oh, you'll tell her? Great comfort, that. What makes you think she'll listen to you?
Heart.
What, you change your mind? Not gonna join?
Joining the army?
And spirit.
You're not exactly the whiz these days either. God, I'm never gonna get paid.
I am a whiz.
Well, she is a whiz.
If ever a whiz there was.
He sows seeds of discontent and a sort of self-loathing, which is something we can all relate to.
I have a boyfriend too, and he's gonna be mad that you were mean to me.
Something else handled during this season, and a whole lot later on, is the theme of abuse. While dramatised, Spike's relationships mirror real-world cycles of emotional abuse, where love is confused with control and validation replaces vulnerability. Spike's relationship to Harmony acts as a wholly different beast to that of Drew. The show has proven that vampires have the ability to love, albeit selfishly, but I would argue that in this case, Spike's desire for Harmony remains soullessly in the physical. There is a lesson here on the difference between a relationship of passion and one of convenience. Spike is simply with her because he doesn't know how to be without. His entire existence has evolved around his relationships to the fairer sex, and that deep-seated need is what draws him into constant relationships. The problem in the case of poor Harmony is that Spike is addicted to the feeling of being needed and loved rather than genuine emotions for her. This leads to the cycle of abuse that Spike becomes the perpetrator of, and Harmony, in her own way, the willing victim. In this case, we can consider Spike as a dark shadow in the recesses of our mind. He embodies the parts of ourselves that we repress: jealousy, insecurity, and neediness. This won't be the last time that Spike represents the nature of toxic relationships. It may have started with Drew, and continued with Harmony, but it will escalate with Buffy, culminating in Season 6 and the show's most controversial moment.
Ask me again why I could never love you.
Season 4 leaves Spike in a limbo, neutered but not redeemed, tolerated but not trusted. But the groundwork here is laid for something more dangerous, a monster who wants to be human.
Stitch me up, Doc. Got places to go.
As we enter into Season 5, the chip only takes the character so far, narratively speaking, and so introduces the next evolution in him. Season 5 reminds us the chip is a leash, not a conscience. It's the soul that enables Angel to grow and mature, unlike the rest who are doomed to remain in their childlike state. It works as a metaphor because, like the Lost Boys, vampires are also distilled. This becomes the crucible where Spike's emotional immaturity collides with his desire for something deeper.
God, I love you so much.
At this point, it has become clear that Harmony isn't enough to feed his desire for intimacy and obsession for romance, an obsession that requires an element of toxicity to keep him engaged. This was indicative of his relationship with Drusilla. Spike doesn't just want love, he wants drama, pain, resistance. That's what makes Buffy irresistible.
Kill me!
I want you.
Oh God, no.
Spike's relationship with sex is intertwined with his relationship with violence. The two go in hand in hand. Buffy becomes his new obsession, and many of these fantasies involve their struggle as enemies. As the season evolves, there's an interesting synergy between Buffy's ever-growing feelings of inadequacy and Spike's own. They're both spiralling in different ways. Buffy under the weight of destiny, Spike under the weight of longing. This parallel makes their collision inevitable.
This is gonna be worth it.
While Xander is the canonical stand-in, Spike's self-loathing, performative masculinity and yearning for validation arguably reflect a deeper, more conflicted, authorial voice. At his core, Spike is a hopeless romantic, and before he was turned, embodied the idea of the incel, wanting so desperately to be loved, but unable to attract. His self-loathing and romantic projection mirror the creator's anxieties about masculinity, validation, and desire. That makes Spike not just a character, but a meta-commentary. His big bad persona is the amplification of his desires. Like his coat, it's a shroud that envelopes him. But as his desire deepens for something he can't have, that inner core comes to the surface.
Spike?
Generally speaking, the ick factor that women feel is real, and worth exploring. Spike's arc forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about desire, entitlement, and emotional projection. The Buffybot is one of the most disturbing and revealing artifacts in the entire series. It's fantasy made flesh. The bot is Spike's idealized version of Buffy, obedient, adoring, sexually available, but it's not love, it's control. This isn't just creepy, it's infantile. Spike retreats into a fantasy where he's always wanted, never rejected. It's a child's solution to heartbreak. The Buffybot forces Buffy, and the audience, to confront the depth of Spike's obsession.
The robot was gross and obscene.
And how far he's willing to go to avoid real emotional growth. This sets the stage for Season 6's darkest moment. The bot is a warning. Spike doesn't yet understand consent, boundaries, or the difference between love and possession. The bot is like a golem, a hollow vessel, animated by desire but lacks a soul. In this way, it's not just a toy, it's a metaphor for Spike's inability to love the real Buffy. This is in contrast with Angel. He leaves Buffy to protect her. Spike builds a robot to keep her close. That's the difference between love and obsession. And just on a side note, while making this video in 2025, and some of the controversy over girlfriend mannequins and relationships with AI bots, it really casts a light on modern relationships and some of the breakdown between the sexes, showing that while disturbing, this plot thread was really ahead of its time.
What you did for me and Dawn, that was real.
Spike begins to believe that proximity to Buffy is making him better, but without a soul, his growth is performative, not transformative. He knows what Buffy wants to hear. He mimics empathy, but doesn't feel it. This illusion of moral growth is what makes his arc so tragic, and so compelling.
I know that I'm a monster, but you treat me like a man.
He's starting to want to be good, but he doesn't yet know what that means.
Has your life passed before your eyes? Cup of tea, almost got shagged, cup of tea.
Season 6 is where Spike's internal contradictions reached their breaking point. The chip restrained his violence, Buffy restrained his heart, but neither could rewrite his nature. Buffy, going through post-resurrection PTSD, has become emotionally numb. This depression makes her vulnerable to Spike's advances, but she never truly reciprocates. The relationship is physical, but never emotional. It's built on pain, not partnership. Spike believes physical closeness equals emotional connection, and Buffy uses Spike to feel something, while Spike mistakes that for love, and he gets what he craves. Intimacy fused with brutality, a distorted echo of love. His adolescent idea of love was never reciprocated as a human, so the twisted, soulless, selfish version is all he's ever known, and this is worth keeping in mind as we explore what's about to come.
I think something might be going on with Spike and Buffy.
Seeing red becomes the moments where all illusions collapse. Spike's attempted assault on Buffy is a brutal, unforgiving reminder he doesn't have a soul. Despite his growing affection, loyalty, and even moments of tenderness, his moral compass is still absent. When rejected, he reverts to violence, not out of lust, but out of desperation. This moment forces the audience to confront the limits of the nurture. The chip restrained the body, Buffy restrained the heart, but without that soul, all that restraint collapses. Spike has truly become the monster that Buffy always feared. James Masters has spoken candidly about the discomfort and intensity of film in Seeing Red, noting that Joss Whedon wanted to push Spike to his lowest point to justify the Soul Quest. This was not a misstep, it was a deliberate narrative fracture. Spike had to break completely to begin rebuilding.
Very well. We will return your soul.
The season ends on a cliffhanger. Spike bloodied and broken, seeking something he never thought he needed, a soul. This isn't about winning Buffy back, it's about becoming someone who would never hurt her again. The final statement of Season 6 is paradoxical. Despite his nature, with enough pain, loss and reflection, Spike chooses nurture, he chooses change. Season 6 doesn't redeem Spike, it exposes him. It strips away the fantasy of love without accountability and forces him to confront the monster within.
So what do you think? You get your soul back and everything will be Jim Dandy? Soul's slipperier than a greased weasel. Why do you think I sold mine?
Season 7 asks a deceptively simple question. What does it mean to have a soul? For Spike, the answer is not theological, it's emotional, psychological, and ultimately redemptive. Spike's soul doesn't erase his past, it illuminates it. He's no longer a monster unaware of his cruelty, he's a man haunted by it. This season is less about action and more about atonement. Spike doesn't seek forgiveness, he's seeking meaning. His obsession with relationships, once rooted in a childlike need for affection, now becomes a crucible for self-examination. He begins to understand that love is not about possession, it's about presence, protection and pain. But the introduction of a soul isn't a quick fix. What it allows him to do is finally grow, but like Angel before him, this means facing his own demons. Strength begins within, but finds its fullest power in unity. This is a core theme in the final season, and so too does Spike embody this idea. He tries to stand on his own 2 feet, first by regressing back to the big bad armour that he would use in Adolescence. But in order to truly stand tall, he needs support and forgiveness. Buffy's forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it allows Spike to move from obsession to allyship. It quietly explores William, the man Spike once was. Through dreams, memories, moments of vulnerability, we see flickers of the poet, the romantic, the man who wanted to be good. This isn't a regression, it's a reclamation. Spike doesn't become William again, but he integrates that sensitivity into his new identity. Looking back at our exploration of Spike and his relationships, it culminates in a single catalyst. But it's only here near the end that we can unravel the beginning. For context, William, rejected by Cecily and mocked by society, turned to Drusilla for validation. But when he turns his mother, it's not empowerment, it's horror.
I loved you. I did. Not like this.
Just like this.
He wants to save her from illness and death, but vampirism corrupts that desire. Instead of gratitude, she lashes out, weaponizing his insecurities. Her rejection as a vampire leaves a psychological wound, and is more devastating than her death as a human. It fuses intimacy with betrayal, love with cruelty. From this moment, Spike's understanding of love is inseparable from suffering. Every relationship he pursues, Drew, Harmony, Buffy, carries echoes of this primal wound. His mother's rejection leaves him addicted to validation. He seeks women who both nurture and torment him, replaying the cycle. His obsession with Buffy mirrors his attempt to save his mother, to prove he can be worthy of love, even if it means twisting intimacy into control. The mother turning is a dark inversion of the Oedipal myth. Instead of killing his father, Spike saves his mother, only to be destroyed by her rejection. His mother becomes the archetypal devouring mother, nurturing turned toxic, love turned annihilation. Spike internalizes this shadow, carrying it into every bond. Season 7 reframes this trauma as the root of his dysfunction. His eventual soul quest isn't just about Buffy, it's about breaking free from the cycle his mother began. Spike's internal struggle as the first tries to use him can be seen as both pawn and champion, embodying the struggle between corruption and redemption. By facing the wound of his mother's rejection, Spike finally understands that love must be chosen, not coerced.
What can I say? Couldn't wait.
Vampires in Buffy are metaphors for arrested development, creatures of pure id, driven by hunger, lust, and ego. Spike, pre-soul, was all id, impulsive, obsessive, emotionally volatile. The soul introduces the superego, conscience, guilt, restraint. His journey becomes a psychological integration, from fragmented desire to unified purpose. If we apply Freudian ego theory, Spike's arc is a journey from id to ego to superego. What was once toxic obsession becomes sacrificial love.
I want to see how it ends.
Taking the amulet in the final episode is Spike's acceptance of identity. He integrates William's vulnerability with the vampire's strength, becoming something new. His arc reframes redemption not as forgiveness, but as sacrifice, given without expectation. Like a phoenix, he burns up in a blaze of glory, leaving behind legacy. Spike's story ends not with possession, but with presence. Not with a kiss, but with fire. He dies not to be loved, but to be worthy of love.
Love you.
No, you don't. But thanks for saying it.
In a show about growing up, Spike's arc is the most adult of all. Not because he finds happiness, but because he finally understands what it means to give it.
Spike.
Blondie Bear?
Spike's arc feels complete at the end of Season 7, so his resurrection in Angel might seem like a retcon. His resurrection is less a retcon than a rebirth. The epilogue of a hero who has lost love but found agency. Freed from the shackles of lovelorn poet, Spike becomes the Wanderer, chasing not Buffy but meaning itself. His resurrection via the amulet places him directly alongside Angel, relighting their rivalry. This contrast forces the audience to question whether the redemption is about intent or outcome. They are like two archetypes colliding. Angel, the tragic hero burdened by fate. Spike, the trickster, anti-hero, irreverent but transformative. Their competition isn't just personal, it's a meta-commentary on the mythic storytelling, asking whether destiny or defiance defines a champion. Spike's journey from villain to reluctant hero parallels Angel's, but with a different texture. He embraces his flaws rather than brooding over them. This could also be seen as the difference between order and chaos. Angel's relationship to Angelus, his more chaotic side, forces him into a rigid, brooding structure. He clings to structure, prophecy, and guilt. Spike thrives in improvisation, embracing imperfection. His inclusion underscores the theme that identity is not static. Even the most unlikely figures can evolve. In this season, Spike embodies the idea that transformation is messy, non-linear, and often resisted, yet still meaningful. Angel often treats his soul as a curse, while Spike actively chose his soul. The distinction reframes the soul not as punishment but as agency. Their philosophical debates highlight the ambiguity of morality in the Buffyverse. Is goodness about suffering for one's sins, or about choosing to act despite them? In the finale, Not Fade Away, Spike drunkenly recites his old poem from 1880 before charging into battle. This moment fuses past failure with present courage, proving that legacy is not erased but rewritten. His presence in the alley, alongside Angel, Gunn and Illyria, emphasises the theme of fighting even when victory is impossible. Spike's arc insists that meaning lies in the struggle itself, not the outcome. His return in Angel is not a retcon but a reckoning. No longer bound by love or loss, he fights not for redemption but for relevance. The alley, he becomes the eternal warrior, standing not for glory, not for prophecy, but because resistance itself is meaning.
I may be love's bitch, but at least I'm man enough to admit it.